All right, we are live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is kind of a quick group live that I met Clayton actually not too long ago, and we've had some really good conversations about marketing. And so I thought it was about time that we create a live and start recording some of these conversations that Clayton and I have been having. Because I think it's going to really add a lot of value to a lot of your businesses out there in the real estate market. So, Clayton actually runs his own marketing agency geared towards helping realtors as well, same like mine. You can almost say that he's a competitor, but honestly, the space is so big that there's enough business to go around.
For
And so,
sure.
what we want to do here is just provide you with a lot of value and show you kind of where the market's going. Because I know a lot of clients are actually worried about where this market is going, and I know you're preaching to your clients where they're going. So I thought it'd be good to come on here and show you perspective of what us as agency owners are seeing. So, Clayton, why don't you introduce yourself real quick and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, and thank you for the introduction. So, as you mentioned, I own my own marketing agency with different real estate agents and brokers. What we do is we take them from being agents in their market to help them grow, build systems within their business, teach them different ways that they can actually run and manage campaigns. We also manage campaigns for them. And just bring in new business that makes sense, right? We don't want to be just running ads that don't convert. We want to set up strategies that work in their area, whether that's buyers or sellers. So pretty much do it all, and we've had some good success with it.
Yeah. So, real quick, I want to get in it because I don't like the whole 10-minute of introductions, where you're at in your life, and all
Sure.
that stuff. So let's go into the deep conversations that are actually gonna get some
Let's
real
do it.
value. So, real quick off the bat, like what are we seeing in the market today when it comes to agents wanting to advertise?
Yeah. So one thing that I've definitely noticed is I've definitely seen some more agents be hesitant to start advertising. I think a lot of people hear things like a recession, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard, and it kind of scares you. But one thing I would say is now is a great time to get into the market. You have a lot of people that are scared to actually advertise. So what you see is when there's a lot of people that are scared to advertise, a lot of your costs actually go down. So the amount of people that are advertising is less, which means it's less saturated. So things like your ad campaigns, there's still the same amount of people that are looking to buy or sell, right? But if you're pull out and you let everyone else take market share when they're advertising, it just puts you further behind. So now is actually the time to double down, right? Get more people in your business funnel. So when we come out of this recession, you have more audiences to play with. You have more people that have seen your content, they've learned about you, and they've trusted you through more of a difficult time. So that's definitely what I've been seeing, and I would just strongly recommend to anyone out there that it's a good time to get into the market still.
Yeah, like you kind of said it best where, people are advertising, but there's not a lot of competition out there. So, yeah, your advertising dollars actually spread further.
Hmm.
And one thing I want to mention too, just to kind of add on that, is actually trying to work on building an email database. I preach about building your database nonstop. So, just because maybe someone's not ready to act on Facebook, which we all know Facebook isn't necessarily people going on there to get their problem solved. They're not looking for a home or looking to sell their home by being on Facebook. It's usually very early on
The
in the
process.
buying process or
Yeah.
selling process where they're just trying to get information. Something triggers them to be like, what, I'm curious to know what my house is worth. What, let me put in my Facebook ad. Boom, you get an email, phone number, and name, and then now you have someone in your database that you can market to. So I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are expecting quick conversions right off the bat when that isn't always the case. Kind of going off of that question, what would you say is probably a normal conversion when someone actually, maybe not a normal conversion, but like the amount of people that actually opt into an ad? What would you say is a percentage that people actually become a client within the first 3 weeks, 2 weeks?
Yeah, and I think that's an important question because a lot of people, when they're advertising, they're looking at. I've had conversations recently where a lot of newer agents specifically have come in and said, I'll do this marketing if this makes sense for my return." Right? They're really heavily focused on what is going to happen in the next 30 days. And one thing that's just really important to look at is, a lot of the times when you're dealing with something like buying or selling a home, right, these are huge decisions that your clients are making or your future clients are making. And it takes time, right? Not everyone is going to come in and be like, I need to sell my home right away. I mean, how rarely does that happen unless it's like a referral, right? So if you're thinking of, running ads and doing marketing, you are usually looking into a 3 to 6 month type of time frame. And so that's what, when he mentioned getting your email list, right? Getting your email list gives you time to nurture those clients, whether that is sending them, useful information inside of those emails, even sending, things like videos. That's becoming really popular, is actually just putting a video in your email talking about the market, sending market updates. You get time to nurture them, and after 3 or 6 months, if they have seen 30, 40 emails from you talking about all this useful information for them, tips to look out for, things that they can leverage when they're actually in that process, they're so much more likely to convert. So typically speaking, when you're doing your marketing, you're going to have a little bit of a period of that first 3 months where you're not going to have a lot of conversions, but on that back end, you'll see a lot of that start snowballing as you continue.
Yeah, that's great. So the way I market the businesses that I'm helping out my clients for is, I necessarily don't promise that they're going to get a listing within the first, 30 days. I tell them that, look, you're going to get really high quality conversations getting, started. And those conversations are going to take time to nurture.
Sure. Yeah.
But we're going to segue into, you need to have a CRM, and how important do you see agents that have a CRM and agents that have no idea what a CRM really does, and leveraging that? Like, what's the difference in production, would you say?
Well, it's the same thing. Like, I mean, if you have a 3 to 6 month period, right, there's no way in the world you're going to be able to keep track of all of the people coming in, right? And so, you're not going to remember off the top of your head that John, Bill, and Bob all want to sell their home in 3 months, and where they are in that, where they are in their selling phase, right? And so you have to, be able to track a lot of this stuff. So CRMs are super useful. I've seen a lot of the newer ones actually have a lot of different features in terms of like being able to text and automate the emails and add all kinds of different tags. And so being able to have your CRM tag them correctly and then give them information specifically based on what they're coming in for. Just allows you to better connect with that person and keep in touch with them. And so, yeah, CRMs are hugely a critical part of the business. And, one of the things is if you can learn your CRM and you can learn how, when people come through, what emails they get, what texts they get, what information they get, it just makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and another thing you can add on top of your CRM, because your CRM is just your database that's going to be acquiring all the information. It's going to be tracking your tasks that you need to do daily. Another thing you can piggyback off of that is something like a home bot, or I think it's called Home Value Bot or Home Bot. And what that does is it adds an extra layer of something customizable to your client. So what that does is it shoots them a marketing report based on their area, gives them comps, it personalizes it to your brand. So there are tools that work together to make it more meaningful for your end user to become that lead, to nurture them, to feel like you're the expert because you're giving them valuable information. So CRM plus a home value bot is definitely a way to go too as well.
And I've also even seen things like if let's say that works great for sellers, right? If someone's opting in through a seller lead capture, you have the ability to send them, like, let's say every month you send them an update on what their home is worth compared to what it was worth last month or compared to what it was worth last year. This is information that they really appreciate. Additionally, on the buyer side, I know that I've been using this with some of my brokers, is when they opt in for a buyer nurture, we have we tag it based on location. So whether it's a specific city or zip code, we then also have an automation on the back end that sends them homes in that area, right? So anytime there's new homes that go live, it's kind of like Zillow. Zillow does this a lot when you guys opt in, but doing that on your own and actually having 20 homes available this week in this area, right? That's also great information. And when they click on that, you get to see who clicked on it. And that also lets you know what customer or what client is actually going to be interested. And so even if you want to send them a text saying like, hey, John, I saw you were looking at this home over in this area. Are you still looking to buy? Right. All that information is a great way to keep nurturing those leads.
So my agency and your agency, we do different volume as far as like how much ad spend we do per month. I'm probably doing, let me think in my head, probably around, I'm gonna say $10,000 a month in ad spend.
Yeah.
That's just a ballpark figure in my head. And with that information and ad spend, we're able to really kind of see, because it's a numbers game, we're acquiring data. We're able to see over time what actually produces results and what doesn't really produce results. Because the whole thing about our jobs is, we have to test, and we have to keep testing until we get, desirable KPIs.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the stress on us is to keep coming up with new creatives, new copy, new things that work. And it kind of can feel like we're having to constantly evolve, but we're also trying to, come up with different angles. So I know, like, actually what we started talking about in the beginning was actually different creatives, and there's a lot of different ways. Like, I come from more a designer background. Clayton comes from more of like, marketing and psychology background. And so with us together, we've been able to really, coordinate some really good campaigns. So and I also put on the post too, is like, we all want to know, like, well, I guess this is a two-part question. Is number one is, what do you feel like out there with all the testing that we've done? Do you see is one of the best ways to capture a lead? Is it landing pages, chatbots? Because everyone has a new shiny object that they're promoting. There's TikTok ads. There's all this, stuff, YouTube ads. What have you seen in your agency actually do really well on? So I'll just leave it at that. what's
Yeah.
what's your
So
capture?
great question. So I personally don't think that there is, one form of advertising or way of doing advertising that's superior to the other forms. I've seen results in almost any, platform that people are using. That's why people still use them, is because they work.
Yeah.
But all I would say is, if you're going to use one, you should know how it works, and you
Yeah.
should master that one. And so most of my clients, I specialize in Facebook and Instagram advertising. That's where we spend most of our budget, and where we've done all kinds of tests across the different agents I work with. And so, one thing I've seen is there are certain trends that you'll see in specific platforms, right? There are pros and cons, and just understanding those pros and cons can help. For example, Facebook and Instagram is not always going to be your warmest leads, right? They're not going to be we mentioned earlier, they're not going to be the people that are, ready to buy right then. But it is a platform that allows you to advertise videos and let people, and you can retarget people with those videos, and you can show them who you are, and it gives people to start the chance to, learn about you and grow, trust you, so that when they are ready, they take that action. And you also do have people that are ready to buy, but I'm saying, typically speaking, Facebook and Instagram is not your warmest, hottest leads that are going to convert like that, right? And so understanding that, you have to shift the way you're doing your marketing. And then in terms of like specific lead captures, right, like landing pages, chat bots, lead forms, I would say a lot of that quicker interaction, like lead forms and chat bots, are specifically going to be better for your buyers. Typically in the market, when you're working with a buyer, those are the ones that are ready to take action quicker. If they're looking to buy, usually it's a little bit urgent. It's not, most of the time people aren't looking to buy a home just for the sake of buying a home. They usually need to buy a home. And
Like
so having,
changes,
yeah,
all kinds of
exactly.
stuff.
A lot of life changes that happen. And so when you are running things like lead forms that capture information quickly, emails, phone numbers, first name, last name, any additional questions that you have in there, those are usually quicker to fill out, and that's why they specifically work better for buyers. In my experience, landing pages are the best for sellers, because when you're a seller, right, it's a big decision to sell the asset, the biggest asset you probably have. And so having a landing page allows you to put personal branding in there, allows you to put testimonials, allows you to put any additional information to help the seller learn about you before they make that decision. And that's why they convert better, because you're pulling in all this information to kind of present to them before they actually submit that. Whereas the buyers aren't always interested in that. They're looking for the agent that can help them get a home the quickest or answer all their phone calls or texts as soon as possible. And so that's one of the biggest difference I've seen on just those kind of lead capture forms. But in terms of like overall advertising, it's as long as you learn and you test and you understand one platform, you're usually fine with any of them.
Yeah, you brought up a good point too. When it comes to landing pages, you're trying to get in the psychological approach. You're almost like trying to sell for someone to put in their information on where they live, and
Mm-hmm.
so you kind of have to have that social proof. And
Yeah,
social proof is important on the internet. If you don't have social proof, it's really hard to have a business, because people want to know that they're making a good decision, and people trust other reviews just as much as they would trust their friend, referral.
yeah,
And so when you're trying to sell that big asset, you want to be able to trust that that person knows what they're doing, just to even start the conversation.
yeah,
With
100%.
buyers, we all know that buyers don't have a commitment to an agent usually until they sign the dotted line to make that offer, and they have more freedom to choose on who they want to work with. So that's why it's a little bit quicker. You don't need they just want to find a home. They can care less really who their agent is. They just want to get an agent that's going to get them a good deal on the home and negotiate strongly. But buyers have more, I guess, options out there when it
And
comes to looking for an agent.
yeah, and I
So
will
you just
say
need to be responsive.
for sure, and buyers are very interesting because buyers tend to do a lot of the legwork beforehand. There are people that are not pre-approved; they haven't looked at any homes. But typically now, with what you're seeing is there's things like Zillow out there, Realtor.com, and all these different um, you know platforms out there that I personally can go and look at a home whenever I want. Right? I can go and look at the home. I can look at all the photos, and you have the ability to search thousands, hundreds of homes online, and then you're not really contacting an agent until you're ready. Not a lot of people that are buyers, in my experience, are reaching out to agents before they're ready. Right? If your ad is showcasing, hey, we have a list of homes in this area or homes for sale in this area, then you will get a lot of people that are just browsing. But if it's your campaign or your ad is focused around a realtor helping you find the home, you're not going to get a lot of those people that are just browsing, because in the buyer's perspective, they're really going to reach out to an agent once they're ready. It's not typically just to browse with an agent,
Yeah.
from what I've seen. Yeah.
So a lot of great information real quick, but let's get down to the nuts and bolts. The stuff that people want to know is what kind of seller ads are working today that
What
you're
kind of
doing.
seller? Oh, yeah. Well, seller ads are some of the trickiest ads to run out there. Um, Seller ads, a lot of the information that's worked for a long time is still working. Things like what is your home worth, what's the value of your home, request a CMA, right? All these types of ads are still working. You just have to be more creative on what your image or creative is what types of people they're attracting. And then you also have to pay attention to your bounce rate on your website, how well it converts, and then the backend information. The ad isn't as important as those the other metrics that you should be looking at, because you can have a poor ad or a good ad, right? And it still is going to get people to the website. But if your website is not built to convert, it doesn't matter. All right. And so we need to have your website is one of the most important things that you can pay attention to. Out of every 10 people that come to the website, how many people are actually filling out the form, right? You should be around 10 to 20%. To make the decision saying, I have a good website. If you're not seeing those numbers, then I would recommend either building a new website, building a landing page and testing that. And then on the back end is, if you are getting 10 to 20 people, 20% filling out the form, or how many people are responding to you, right? If you aren't getting anyone to respond to you, is it, what emails are you sending them when they first come in? What texts are you sending them when they first come in? And when you can get those things down, right? Once you have a winning ad as well, right? Obviously, you need to make sure you have a great ad, but once you get those things down first, your ads just perform crazy. They just do so well. You have people that are coming in, they're actually filling out the form at a good percentage, and they're responding at a good percentage. So when you can get those things down, you have a great system in place.
Yeah, and just kind of sum that conversation or that idea up. It's basically when you have an ad, that's the very first thing you see. If you're not getting people to see that ad, then you have an issue right there. Don't even worry about all the stuff behind that ad when you don't have an ad that's actually getting attention, or getting opt-ins or leads coming in. So it's almost like you have a bunch of dams. You got like 5 different dams set up, and you have a river, but that dam is blocking it.
Yeah.
So what you
Bottleneck.
got to do is basically knock down the first dam before the water starts flowing, but then hits the next dam, and you have to troubleshoot each of those dams to see how you could knock down that barrier. And like you said, it's the ad copy. Are you getting people into your system? Is a landing page converting? You're getting people to click on the ad. You're getting a lot of landing page views. Maybe you're not using the right ad. You're not running a conversion ad. You're just maybe running traffic. There's different things you have to figure out.
Yeah.
So what makes our job difficult is at first is trying to figure out how to break down those different dams.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, we have one idea. So usually within the first week or two, we're actually really trying to test all these different things, and we're trying to figure out what the issues are. And then once we finally get the lead to close, then we say, okay, how smooth of a transition was that process for that client or that lead? And people online nowadays are sophisticated. They don't want just another funnel to go into. They're looking for client experience. So what does that experience look like when someone is a lead to client?
Yeah, I have
And
a point after that. Great,
yeah,
you mentioned great. Yeah, because one thing that's important to understand is when there are a lot of marketers out there that will come in and run ads, and the thing that separates a marketer from your average company that's going to come in and run your ads versus someone that is a little bit more hands-on is what are they doing to test your ads. And a lot of times people will say, oh, testing, you're going to test this, you're going to test that, you should know what's going to work. But every business is different, right? Every business has its own. A lot of people have different CRMs. A lot of people have different text and email automations on the back end. And just like when you work with a seller, you have certain things that you do, right, to make sure that process goes smoothly. But every seller is different. Every house is different. Their situation's different. So you have to tailor the way you approach selling their property different than maybe the last person you helped. And so the same way as when we're coming in with and working with someone, there are different walls that are built up in that business, right? Like you mentioned, the ad, what images, what past properties have you sold that we can leverage? What reviews do you have that we can leverage, right? You might not have the same content available that someone else has. How many followers does your page actually have? How long have you been in business? What's your ad spend, right? We have different things that we are using and have to change depending on who we're working with. So when it comes into testing, we have to be able to test because we don't want to dump in a whole bunch of money into your ads, waste your budget, right? We would rather test that and figure out what ad works, right? How many people are clicking on that ad? How many people are going to the website? Once they're on the website, what are the actions that they're taking? Are they not taking the actions we want? Fix that. And then on the back end, if they're responding or not responding, we have to make sure that we're managing that as well. So there's a lot of different moving parts within the puzzle. And so coming together and testing to make sure the puzzle works. And then you have a system that you can run for a long time. So that's why when a lot of people are expecting 1 to 2 months, right? Usually you should be around the 90-day, 120-day mark to be able to fully test something out. Once you reach that, it's a great system, and you can usually up the budget as well. And that's when the results really start coming in.
Yeah, that's when a lot of people think that, dumping in money is a surefire way to get the data, which it is. It is, compared to someone that starts off with $500 compared to someone that has maybe a $3,000 ad budget. They're different budgets, but we're able to say, for example, the 3,000 ad budget, we're able to get the data quicker and make adjustments quicker.
Sure.
As opposed to the $500 budget where we have to stretch that, and it takes a little bit longer to get that data that we need to make those decisions, because the market's very competitive. You can look at it, but what separates our services from another agent that just runs their own ads is, well, number one is we know what campaigns to run. We're not running traffic campaigns. We're actually running conversion campaigns or lead generation campaigns. And then we also know how to leverage those platforms. We know how to set it up. We know how to create the cold audiences, and we also know how to set up the warm audiences or the lookalike audiences. We know how to set up, all that great stuff when it comes to, tracking, the Facebook pixel. I actually do some YouTube ads and Google, ads myself. So I know how to set up, the Google tags. So that's just other things. And I like how you said with Facebook, you know how to use Facebook and Instagram. It's great. It's not that great for a warm market, but it's great for cold marketing. But if you're using YouTube, it's great when you have a YouTube channel or a YouTube ad and you're driving traffic to your website, and to retarget them using a Facebook pixel is a great way to retarget those people that bounce off of your website by using YouTube. And then the secondary ad is on Facebook because you're bringing more awareness to your business.
Yeah, and that's not to say that I agree
Yeah.
100%. And that's not to say that Facebook isn't great for warm targeting. And the reason I mentioned that Facebook is typically not your warm targeting uh, platform is specifically for newer agents. When
Yeah.
newer agents come onto Facebook, they have no data, right? You're dealing with no information. You have no data. You don't have
It's
a
a
lot of
brand new
customers.
Facebook page. They just became an agent a year and they don't
Yeah,
have a page build up.
Yeah, and the best thing about Facebook and Instagram is the audiences that you can leverage. So as you start advertising, right after that 90, 120-day mark, you now have a big enough audience to duplicate the audiences, create lookalikes, right? That means you'll pull information from customers that you've worked with in the past and find more people like that. That's when you really get into your scaling phase and when you are targeting a lot of those warmer audiences. So for newer agents specifically, it is a little bit more difficult. It does take more time. But for those people I have one client that has 50,000 visitors per month on their website. And retargeting can be up to 90 days or 180 days on their website, meaning we we have 300,000 people we can retarget that actually visited their website. Now imagine taking a lookalike audience of that 300,000 in our local market. How we have so many data points to pull from. It pulls things like where are they from, the zip code, their income level, the apps they like to use. That's when we really start getting into some crazy numbers. And I mean, I think it was $600 for two listings last week, which is like 20K, 30K in commission on $600 spent. But with that newer agent, we're dealing with, 5 people have liked their Facebook page,
Yeah.
and that's the only audience that we can leverage. And so,
Yeah, but you can only
dealing
imagine
very,
it
yeah,
might seem like $600 for like two listings is like, wow, that's a great result. But you got to factor in that business has an established brand that's driving traffic already, that built
yeah,
the audiences. You're not thinking about the money already put into that marketing that got them
100%.
to where they're at today.
Yeah.
So it's unrealistic to think a new agent is going to, get those same quality leads coming in, knocking on their door when they haven't established the audience.
Exactly, 100%. It's so important, and just understanding that. And I think one of the questions that we also wanted to talk about today was, what's one of the differences between a top producer
Yeah.
and a new agent. I think that goes in perfectly where the what I've seen historically is the top producers are willing to they're willing to learn, not get a return. And but what I mean by that is they are willing to put in and invest into their marketing. They don't see it as an expense, they see it as an investment. And they're putting that back into their marketing to learn what is working, what is not working, to grow their audiences so that later down on the road, when they actually are spending more money, their return, increases tremendously. I mean, I've seen people where they're like, hey, you know what? We're going to put $1,000 in our ads per month for 30 days and maybe had one or two listings, right? Or maybe none, right? Some people don't get a listing. And then as they've gone through, they've acquired, still the same business they were doing beforehand. They've actually had people start following them. They've had people even submit their information. And then that 4 to 6 month mark, right? They've seen like 5 or 6 listings with less of a budget. And so just understanding that it's about learning. It's not always about a return. Especially if you're just starting out, is a huge difference maker between some of the newer agents as well as some of the top producers.
Yeah. So that's great because I had another question that I think it would be amazing for the newer agents starting off, not really sure what marketing to really focus on. um, if they were going to build their audience on their Facebook page,
Sure.
what should they be focusing on today so that 6-7 months down the road they have the audience to grow off of and market those CMA listings with, or the CMA ads with. What kind of things they should they be doing today?
Sure. Great question. So when you are a newer agent and you're just getting started in the market, right? We've already mentioned you don't have a big audience. Your advertising account is fresh. You're fresh into the industry. What I would do is I would do some of the same things that a lot of people recommend is start off working your, anyone that you have in your family, your friends, right? Work your leads that you get from your brokerage or anything until you get your first listing. Once you have that first listing, let's say your commission is anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. Okay, you want to take a portion of that commission, right? If you have expenses, pay that off. Whatever you have to do to the broker usually takes a percent as well. But let's say you're left with $10,000, $12,000 at the end of all this. I would strongly recommend taking $500 and actually going and recording a professional video walking through the property, or even having you inside the video saying, hey guys, my name is John. We're here at this awesome property that we just sold, and just share the story. Like, share the story of how you got it. This is one of my friends, or this was a client that needed to sell their home. In 2 weeks, they had to move, or something like that, right? And tell the story behind it, and then go ahead and put another $500 to $1,000 behind that video,
Yeah, to
right?
promote it.
Boost that video out as quick as possible in your local market and start building up your audiences. I mean, you can get I think with like $500 ad spend that we tested the other week, we had like 12,000 people watch our video on a $500 ad spend, and that's at least 25% of the video, right? So they're at least watching 30 seconds of our video and learning about us. And then every time you have a listing, after that, keep on doing that. If you do that for 6 months, right? Let's say you get 6 listings, maybe 3 listings, right? We're dealing with anywhere from 30, 40,000 to 70, 80,000 people that have watched our video. And each time someone watches the first one, they then get retargeted for the second one. If they watch the second one, they watch the third, and so
Yeah,
forth. And so after
and you're
that,
building, you're stacking up your audiences, and you're keeping them
yeah,
engaged.
after that 6 months, you have an 80,000 size pool audience. You have people that have watched the whole journey, and you're retargeting all these people. You will see a huge difference in the amount of people that start reaching out to you. I strongly recommend that. It's the best way to build your personal brand, especially if you're a newer agent. And then later down on the line, you can focus on the lead generation style, where you're retargeting a lot of these people that have watched the content to actually submit a form, right? So now that's when you have that transition. So that's one of the biggest things that you can do if you're a newer agent just starting out with a new ad account.
Yeah, just getting your name out there, showing up consistently, and actually your marketing dollars are going to go stretch out further because you're reaching more people. When you the less you ask Facebook to give you a result, the better your budget will scale. So for example, like the video views, if you're running a video views ad, you're going to get maybe 3 cents to 2 cents per video view, which
Yeah,
is great because you can really stretch out that dollar. You can do it $5 a day, $10 a day for a month. That's what, $300. And so when you're building that up, you're not only just building up your views, but you're able to really stretch those dollars. And then you're not even really having a solid ask of like, here, type in this form. Like,
yeah,
really, you're not even asking anyone to do anything other than to just follow you.
yeah,
And anyone that likes the video, you can request them to join your page. I see a lot of people actually, when they get likes to their marketing pieces, that they just don't even invite them to like the page. And the next thing you want to do is, if you do have a listing closed, have those people follow your page, you know because no one will follow you quicker than a client.
yeah,
I've seen this over and over again, where my clients, if I friend request them, they'll follow me, or if I have a one-on-one call, they'll follow me back and I'll follow them. They're interested in what you have to share. Not only that, when it comes to your audiences, those are your ideal clients that you want to attract. So when it comes to making your Facebook audience, those people that you've already invited, your clients you've already invited, your prospects you've already invited, that's what you're telling Facebook: target people like this.
yeah.
And
Not
so,
only, yeah, that's a great point, because not only that, but I mean, if you can get let's say your clients are willing to go above and beyond for you if you provided a great job. So, even if you're saying to your client, hey, I just sold your property. I want to ask, we're going to shoot a 2-minute video around this listing. Do you mind just being in maybe 15 to 20 seconds of it and sharing your experience, right? Actually having someone speak on your behalf and share their experience. And then you can also clip that 15-second out and run an additional ad with that 15-second.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to do it, you just got a good commission. Go, give them a $200 Starbucks gift card and ask them if they're willing to do it now, right? Like these little things that you can do.
Right now, actually, I'd probably suggest a gas card.
Yeah, $200 shells, whatever it is. Gas card's probably definitely something you should get to. But yeah, those are things that you can help keep pushing yourself further. Because once you start doing that consistently, you are now doing something that is different than every other agent. How many newer agents are doing that right now? How many newer agents are taking a listing, budgeting out a portion of that into their own marketing, and even know how to do it, right? There's not a lot of people that know how to do it. A lot of people are still operating as if it's 5-10 years ago. People have still not caught up with the best way to grow your personal brand. But video is so important, and I would just strongly recommend that you guys do that. I hope you take some of that information.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we've been on here for about 36 minutes. We want to leave you guys with more information. We'll probably do this again in the future. I don't want to take too much of Clayton's time, but I think we shared a lot of great nuggets of information here. If you want to reach out to myself or Clayton, feel free. Oh, my son just threw a car across the kitchen. But yeah, so I think it's a good time to end this conversation. But also, Clayton, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, what would be the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook at Clayton McLemore. I'm sure it'll probably be somewhere in the description of the video, or I think I was tagged in the video somewhere. You have my email, clayton@claytonleads.com. And then my phone number is 803-761-5044. So you just feel free to reach out to me. And if you ever want to talk, have lunch, whatever, just let me know.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you for stopping by. If you have any questions as well, my name's Leo, obviously, and you can DM me, post a comment down below in the Facebook group. I'll send you a DM. You can call me as well, 714-227-4745. I'm actually located in Anaheim, California, down here in SoCal. Where are you located at again?
I'm in Alpharetta, Georgia. I forgot to mention that. I'm over here in Georgia. Got some not as hot weather as you guys, but we had like 101 degrees actually today at 101.
Oh, so wow.
We're getting close to California weather.
Yeah, we were at 95 yesterday. I don't know what it is today, but I'm in my AC house, so pretty nice. So yeah, I definitely want to get you back on here. We didn't even discuss other ads that are converting, like listing ads or, just sold ads or, you name it. There's an ad for anything on the real estate market. So we want to leave you with a little something today. We'll come back on at a later date and then we'll post it on here. And once again, thank you, Clayton. Your value was appreciated today, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Bye.